Hello lovely people, it's Ila here, Saturday Night Stitch, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. Today's video is a sewing tutorial. I love making sewing tutorial videos, and I'm basically sharing with you how I sewed this top from BURDA 2 2021 style number 111, and I'll be going through step by step exactly what I did to create this wonderful top that I absolutely love, and I'll be including some really neat little tips and tricks that will impact the final look and feel and make the sewing process hopefully a little bit easier. Now, some of the things that I will be doing don't seem to make sense until they do make sense, so if you are actually sewing along with this, I do suggest you watch it through first before you go ahead with it. So to start off with, there's the line drawing, which as you can see, it's got some really interesting details. It's got a lovely curved line bodice over there, and so we've got 2 points of gathering, the bodice and on the sleeve, so it's a very boho style. In terms of fabric, you're looking for something that's a little bit on the crisp side, so that first fabric I was showing you there was a cotton poplin. The second one is a linen, a yarn dyed linen, and that could create a really lovely look and feel as well. And I also have here a sample of a rayon or viscose challis, as other people may call it, and that could create something that's a little bit drapier. I went for a lightweight crisp Liberty Tana Lawn, which is going to create something quite different. I lengthened the top just to make it a little bit longer because I had the fabric and I just didn't want to waste the scrap. So I'm using 1/2 inch seam allowances on the side, and I'm using 3/8 of an inch seam allowances on all of the curved edges, so the sleeve heads and the bodice pattern pieces. A special point to note is make sure that you mark the notches on the sleeve and the notches on the bodice, because BURDA, it doesn't mark the back notches on the sleeve or on the bodice. And also on the bodice pattern pieces, you want to make sure you mark where the gathering is supposed to go. So for me personally, I use the squiggly line to show that this is where I have to do the gathering, but those are pretty critical. When it comes to interfacing, because the interface pieces are so small, I'm going to do what is called block interfacing. So I just cut out approximate pieces that I am going to interface, and then I'll cut them out after they have been interfaced. Because I'm sewing with Tana Lawn, I'm using a fine sewing needle, so I used the 60, and this does make a difference. The last thing you want to use is an 80 on a fine one. And as you can see there, once you actually do the block fusing, it's a lot easier to cut something that is way more accurate, and this got rid of the problem that I used to have where my interfacing would be just a little bit off and to the side, and it just, you know, created a little bit of an issue. But if I do it this way, it means that the interfaced pattern pieces are absolutely spot on and exactly the right size that they are supposed to be. Particularly for the smaller fiddly ones, I do find that block fusing is really highly recommended. In terms of the interfacing, I just used a ordinary lightweight interfacing, and that was it. You're gonna need a zipper, preferably a long one, and I'm gonna use some stay tape, which I'm going to use to stabilize the neckline, because the neckline is curved and it's on a bit of a bias, and you don't want it to stretch out and gape. So the bias tape is really quite a nice nifty little invention, I think. So it's a fusible interfacing cut on the bias, and then it's stabilized with a little bit of stitching through it. And what you basically do is you try and line up that stitching on the bias tape with where you're going to have the stitching line on the seam that you are stabilizing. So I'm using, because I'm actually using a very small seam allowance on there on my pattern, that's how I traced out my pattern to have a smaller seam allowance, I can just put that exactly right up against the edge. So the other thing that you're going to need to do is to actually use an iron to fuse your stay tape to the seam that you are actually preventing from stretching out during the construction process. And you want to make sure you've got the glue side down. I have done it before. I have made the mistake of not having the glue side down. So yeah, the glue side is the one that's got the little globules of white things that will melt and bond to the fabric. It's important to allow any fusible interfacing that you use to condition. That means that you leave it to cool down completely before you start sewing with it. And as you can see there, when you use stay tape, it means that even though it's cut slightly on the bias, there's no more give onto that edge. And so it just means that when you're sewing, you're not going to get the gaping that you would get otherwise. Of course, you can use stay stitching. So moving on, we've got the front is made up of the 3 pattern pieces. We've got the bodice pieces that have got the gathered section. That's where the shaping comes from. And then we need to again stay stitch or stay tape that lower bodice part. But before we get on to that, we're going to do all of our gathering stitches on those sections that are supposed to be gathered. And whilst we're at it, we're also going to do the gathering stitches on the sleeve heads. So then that will be the gathering done. The next thing is we're going to put together the neck facings, line them up and sew them together. So that you don't get confused, I suggest you write top and bottom on the actual pattern pieces before you sew them, because it can be quite easy to get confused. I like to use pinking shears. I know they just create a very nice little feeling for me. And for something as lightweight as Tana Lawn, I find that sometimes I can get away with finger pressing and using my body heat to create the press that I need. Once those facings are done, the next thing is to finish the outer edge of the facing by overlocking it. And then we're going to move on to sewing the shoulder seam. And once you've done the shoulder seam, you're going to overlock it and we're going to press the seam allowance to the back bodice. And then we're going to sew up the facings to the actual bodice. So we line them up, and when we sew them, we're going to leave about 5/8 of an inch at the zipper, the center back where the zipper is going to be going. So this top has got a zipper opening at the back. So when you're sewing an interfaced pattern piece to a non-interfaced pattern piece, particularly for lightweight fabrics, I find that it is better to put the uninterfaced pattern piece against the feed dogs rather than the interfaced pattern piece. Over the years, I've just found that this creates a better seam. And then once we've done that, we're going to do some understitching. And what understitching does is it's going to make sure that our facing is completely invisible, because the understitching will favor the turn of cloth on the uninterfaced side. And this is one of those things that as a beginner seamstress, you might think, oh no, I'm not going to bother doing that. But trust me, it makes a huge difference. To help with the curved edges when you're understitching, it's a good idea to clip in the seam allowance so that it can give. I like to give it a bit of a press. You can go ahead without pressing it, but when you're sewing with such a fun fabric like a Tana Lawn that presses beautifully, I certainly find myself taking every opportunity to press it as much as I can, because it's so much fun to press. A tailor's ham can be quite useful when you are pressing curved seams. I find it's not necessary, but it does make things a little bit easier. And I think when you are sewing with a fun to iron fabric, you do take all opportunities to use the steam iron as much as is possible. There's just something joyful about a fabric that responds well to the iron. So at this point, that's when I like to add my label. Once the facing, the neckline facing is ready and it's been sewn on, I'll just get that sewn on straight away. we're going to baste the facing down at the bottom of the pattern piece. So we finished with the neckline now. So there's a critical juncture where the 3 pattern pieces join together, and we want to reduce as much bulk as possible. So the best thing to do is to grade it. I like to use the pinking shears for that. And then once that's been graded, then you're going to baste that down. On the back pattern pieces, we're going to sew the lower back to the upper back and finish that with the overlocker. Before we sew the zipper down the center back, we are going to finish those center back edges with the overlocker. I find it's a lot easier to do the finishing before I put the zipper in. I know some people prefer to do it the other way around. I'm using an invisible zipper, and so I'm using the invisible zipper foot, and then there we have. I got some puckering because my tensioning was a little bit off, which I think you do need to check if you're working with lighter weight fabrics. So now we've stay stitched the bottom of the front. So this is the bit where some of the magic is going to happen. So this takes the longest to do. But because we've made sure to mark all of the critical points on those upper bodice pattern pieces, it should be a lot easier than if we hadn't. So the first thing to do obviously is to match up the side seam to the side seam, and then you're going to sort of walk your seams along, lining them up right up until you get to the mark where your gathering is supposed to begin. And what you're going to do is the same thing from the center front. You are going to line that up, and it has to go right up where your seam line is going to go. So this is where using the thinner, the smaller, narrower seam allowances makes things a lot easier. So we'll line that up right up until where the gathering is. So as you can see now, we've got that bit of shaping that is incorporating the gathering, and so we're going to pull the gathering stitches. I can get away with one gathering stitch line because this is a lightweight fabric and I'm using a small seam allowance, which does make things a lot easier. So these are some of the benefits of using industrial sewing techniques. And then we're going to carefully distribute those gathers so that they're a little bit even before we then make them fit the remaining lower bodice pattern piece that it needs to fit. And then there you have one side done. So we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side, being mindful of that point at which the neckline is going to meet the lower bodice. So you have to line it up, being aware of where your stitch line is going to be. This is where I prefer to use wonder clips rather than pins. Pins can be useful, but I find that wonder clips are way more useful than pins. So there again we go, and we're going to line up the side seam and we're going to pin that together, walk the seam allowances together right up until the point where the gathering stitches start, and then we will gather to fit the front bodice gathers to, sorry, the upper bodice gathered to the lower bodice pattern piece. And then at this point you want to check just to make sure that you're getting that V right where you want it to be. If you wanted to, you might be more confident basting it, but because I'm using the smaller seam allowances, I'm just going to go right ahead. So I got to the point where I did one side first, and then I stopped, backstitched and cut that off, and then I started again on the center, making sure that I was lining up the other side, and that for me helps to create the perfect juncture point. It looks a little bit scruffy right now, but you kind of get the idea of what it would look like on the inside. So tidy up all of those threads and then finish it off with an overlocker, and then we'll do some top stitching. Your overlocker thread, be sure to have a longer thread when you do the one side. So when you do your overlocking, in the same way that I did the sewing one side at a time, you do the overlocking one side at a time. And then we're going to press the seam allowances to the lower bodice, and then we'll do some top stitching, and there you have a really beautiful juncture point. Now we can go over to the zipper, finish off the facing. I'm finishing off with some hand sewing. I prefer to do some hand sewing somewhere in a handmade garment. It's a little bit of a ritual that I like to have. And then we're going to sew the side seams together and finish those with the overlocker. And then we're also going to prep the sleeves by sewing the underseam and finishing that with the overlocker as well. And I'm going to go right ahead and also do the hems of the sleeve. So I'll finish it off with an overlocker and then just do a simple hem, press it under, and then sew that up. In order to get ready the sleeves for inserting them, we're just going to do the gathering for the sleeve cap, just so that it can create that lovely little gather that we see in the line drawing. And for the sleeves, we're going to make sure we line up the notches, and as I mentioned before, BURDA patterns will mark the front notch, so that's always a good indicator of where to go. So we start off with the under seam over there, always a good starting point with the sleeves, and then we're going to walk the seam along to the first notch, which is at the front, and then we'll walk it along right up until we get to the shoulder seam as well, and make sure that we match up the notch on the sleeve to the notch on the shoulder. So there's the notch on the sleeve head, and we're going to line that up with the shoulder and clip that together, and then we'll move on to evenly distributing those gathers so that we have you know, a smooth looking even looking sleeve cap. Once again, I can get away with using just one line of gathering stitches because it is a very lightweight fabric and I'm using a very small seam allowance on this. If you're using a 5/8 of a seam allowance, you would absolutely need to have 2 lines of gathering stitches. And so once the sleeve has been finished by overlocking, we're also going to do the bottom hem and get that done. So I prefer to overlock first and then I will turn under. My hem is a 5/8 of an inch and get that sewn. So you could actually make this top sleeveless and I think it would look just as gorgeous. What we're going to do is we're going to anchor the facing so that it doesn't flap just by sewing it in the ditch. And there you have it, lovely people. That is how to make this blouse, which is a really lovely 70s style boho feel. I hope that you've enjoyed the video, that you found it useful, entertaining and informative. And if you did, do give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, do subscribe for new sewing related content every single week. And until I see you next time, lovely people, thank you so much for watching. Happy sewing. Bye.